I gotta say, I always get a little extra fired up when your requests come in. This list, 19 psychological tricks, it's like, whoa, gold mine.
Well, I mean, social psychology, it really does. It gives us this peek behind the curtain, how we interact, even the little stuff. It's fascinating.
Right, and that's what's got me hooked on this list. It's like, we're not talking, Jedi mind tricks here, but these small, subtle things, they work. Like, take the first one, how we ask for stuff. Me, guilty, could you do this all the time?
Yeah.
But apparently not always the best way to go.
Yeah, it's how the brain, it processes language, you see. When you say, could you, it's almost like a setup, right? You're asking about their ability, not making a direct request.
So instead of could you grab that book, it's more like please grab that book. Just boom, direct.
There you go. Direct. Less wiggle room for them to misunderstand. You're not accidentally giving them an out, by focusing on if they can, not on them actually doing it.
Such a tiny change. But I can see it. Makes a difference. Okay, speaking of subtle, this next one, the nodding thing, whoa, have you noticed that? People do it like without realizing to get you to agree.
It's not just them not realizing though. It's tied to, get this, the chameleon effect. We mirror each other without meaning to. Builds trust,
Oh, tell me about it. Restaurants, I swear, the server nods while I order, bam, extra fries. Every time.
Because that little mimic, it creates agreement in your brain. Like, hey, we're on the same side. And boom, suddenly you're going along with whatever they're suggesting.
Hardwired for that social harmony, I guess.
We are social creatures at our core, yeah.
Yeah. Makes you think, what else are we picking up on all the time without knowing? Okay, this next one, though, I got to work on this. Breaking things down. Small requests, not the whole enchilada at once. I overwhelm people. I know I do.
Happens. But there's a reason that backfires. Commitment and consistency. We humans gotta be consistent, right? Yeah. With what we already said yes to.
So get someone to agree to something small, then they're more likely to. Today, they keep saying yes, even if it gets bigger.
Precisely. Each small yes, it's a stepping stone, right? Harder to back out the further you go, even if it gets tougher.
Instead of, hey, want to reorganize the whole garage, it's more, maybe just gather the tools first. Eases them in.
There you go. Smaller, less scary to start. Increases the odds of that first yes. Plays into our nature. We want to seem consistent.
Love how this stuff gets into, like, the nuts and bolts of being human. Speaking of which, brace yourself. This next one's out there. The Green Rabbit Memory Hack. Sounds like Alice in Wonderland stuff.
It does, doesn't it? But there's a system to it. Brains, we like novelty. Too much info coming at us all the time. Gotta filter. New stuff stands out.
So Green Rabbit, how's that work?
Easy. You need to say, unplug the iron, right? But instead of just unplug, you make it bizarre. Green Rabbit, unplug the iron.
You're saying, I say Green Rabbit while unplugging, I'll remember later.
Exactly. Random. Makes it stick. Your brain's like, what the? And holds on to it. Then you're heading out. Bam! Green Rabbit pops up, reminds you of the iron. Mental post-it, but weirder, so it works.
I gotta admit, I was like, Green Rabbit, really?
Yeah.
But I tried it, grocery list, the other day, and it worked. I remembered everything.
See? Sometimes the weird stuff, it's the most effective.
Brain needs a little fun, I guess. Okay, this next one, the start with this for delegating. Good for when you need help, but, don't want to scare them off with too much at once.
It's all about framing. Make it less intimidating. Instead of the whole shebang, you give them a starting line.
So not redo the entire website, but hey, let's kick around ideas for the homepage first.
Exactly. Clear, simple. They're not hit with that, whoa, too much feeling right off the bat. Makes them more likely to dive in.
Psychology and everything, huh? Even just asking for help. Speaking of which, public speaking, always a fun one. The list, it says, to admit you're nervous. To the audience. Which honestly sounds terrifying to me.
Yeah, I get it. Counterintuitive, right. But think about it. When we act all confident, it builds a wall between us and them,
So being a little vulnerable, it actually makes you more relatable.
Totally. Humanizes you. They see you're not some robot up there. Makes them more forgiving if you mess up too.
Like you're saying, hey, we're all in this together.
Exactly. Empathy, understanding, helps everyone relax a bit.
Never thought of it that way, but it makes sense. Okay, this last one. Less of a trick, more of a tip still. It says to always have water with you when you're presenting.
Simple, but effective, right?
It's not just about, not getting a dry mouth, is it?
Well, that too, of course.
Yeah.
Helps you project, No one wants to hear that croaky voice, but yeah, it's also about the pause.
Oh, for sure. I've seen speakers use those sips to gather their thoughts.
Exactly. Socially acceptable way to just take a beat. No one thinks it's weird. Beats just standing there silent, right?
As we're talking, I'm realizing all this stuff, it's connected. Like each tip, It builds on the last, this whole web of how we work. It's like someone snuck us the instruction manual, for how humans actually work, not just how we think we do.
Right. And we've only scratched the surface here. These principles, they're everywhere once you start looking.
Like that saying, know thyself. But it's more like, know thy brain and everyone else's too. Right?
Yeah.
Makes you a better communicator, better at listening. Heck, maybe even a better friend just from knowing this stuff.
Exactly. Using it for good. That's the key. For ourselves and the people around us.
So for our listeners, soaking this all in, what's the one thing you want them to walk away with today?
Ooh, just one. I'd say it's the awareness. Once
Yeah.
you see the stuff, the cues, the language, how our body language affects others, you can't unsee it. But that's good. Makes you more intentional,
Like you're handing them X-ray vision for just everyday life. They'll be out there spotting green rabbits and, the chameleon thing everywhere they go. I know I will be. This was fun. Always a blast picking your brain.
Likewise. Someone who gets as geeky about this stuff as I do. Always a treat.
Takes one to know one, right? And listeners, don't leave it at that. Seeing this stuff in action, try to any of it yourself. Hit us up in the comments. We love hearing how this lands out there in the real world. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and happy diving, everybody.